shut my eyes. I went to bed asleep with my f***ing eyes open. That's how locked in I am.
Philadelphia Eagles are world champions.
Hey, got it! Yeah!
Let's go, Phillies! Woo! KJ and I out here.
You are now listening to the Appreciate Your Input podcast with host Dalton Holland. A proud 302 Birds podcast experience. Now let's take it to the show.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode, of course, of the Appreciate Your Input podcast. My name is Dalton Holland, and I appreciate your input. Tonight on the show, we got a lot on tap. There's a lot of things I wanted to talk about this week, including who might be on your Phillies Sports Mount Rushmore. What is the best movie sequel ever made? Where will Aaron Rodgers go? Phillies baseball's back. Who has more pressure, Bryce Harper or management? We're going to talk about the best boardwalk snack. Going to debate mine right there, what I'll get this summer. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about what is the best what is the best superpower to have and why. But joining me on the show to talk about our Philly Sports Mount Rushmores is my guy, Frank Longo. How you doing, Frank?
How you boys doing? I'm doing great. You know, living the dream, being the dad life. Everybody loves it.
I hear you. Well, hey, I'll actually let my guest take it first. I'll let you explain yours first. Tell me, why is this your Philly Sports Mount Rushmore, Frank?
So I did the concrete jerseys. Like if you're rocking a Mitchell and Ness jersey, these are your concrete Philadelphia jerseys from every big sports team in Philadelphia. If you're rocking a Foles jersey, it's respectful. Schmidt, respectful. Bobby Clark, respectful. Dr. J, respectful. These guys are all the legends that everybody talks about. I mean, Schmidt, he's probably the best third baseman of all time, and that baby blue jersey is just so nasty looking. Bobby Clark brought the first Stanley Cup to Philadelphia. Nick Foles, because of 9-inch, you know what, and because he brought the Super Bowl, of course. And then Dr. J, of course, bringing the first NBA championship to Philadelphia. And he, quite frankly, changed the game, too. I mean, a lot of the things that, like the 90s basketball players always talk about is how much he changed the game. He put a lot of street knowledge, into the game and introduced it to the NBA. I really enjoy watching him play. I love watching the old film of him. And, yeah, he really created the dunking and, just different flashy kind of looks of it. And that's what I love about it. I think it's just, I just went old school really with it. I think if someone's rocking that jersey, you can't really argue with them you're lame. Or I think they're just good go-to jerseys.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Now, I'm not going to argue with Nick Foles or Mike Schmidt, but would you say for the Flyers, if somebody had Lindros, for example, would you be okay with that? Upset?
I don't care. But did he bring the cup? Because this is the Rushmore. Did you bring the cup? Now it's questionable. And then the amount of the trade that we gave up for Lindros, I mean, he gave us a great couple, 4 to 5 years. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch with John LeClaire and that whole crew. That team was awesome to watch. It was the best show on ice, in my opinion. But did he get us to the promised land? No. Did Bobby Clark get us to the promised land? Yeah, twice. So I think that's the biggest question there. I mean, when we did get him and drafted him, we gave up a lot of picks. We gave up just a lot of picks. And then I think we gave up Ron Hextall at one point too. And Ron Hextall did come back, but he wasn't the Ron Hextall what he could have been after that. So it was like the older Ron Hextall. So there's just a lot of just debate on that debacle there. It really did change the NHL a lot. But, I mean, seeing where the Flyers are now, I wish we could bring the 90s back and have Lindros in there.
I like this list. I think that this is a really solid one. I think you got great guys on here. And like you said, at the end of the day, did they get the job done? Did they bring home the championship? And that's what you can say about every guy on this list. They brought the championship home. So I do respect that answer. I think it's really good. Let's go ahead and bring up mine and see what we think and start to compare them. So my list looked a little bit different. Just for perspective, Frank, what year were you born again?
88.
88.
old,
So I was born in 1998, so 10 years apart.
Yep.
So this is mine. And just for the record, I don't think that anyone that Frank had on his list was wrong. But you got Brian Dawkins, Schmidt. That's interesting. Schmidt stays consistent on both lists throughout both generations of Phillies fans. I was actually thinking about putting Bryce, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let me explain this first before I get myself too off topic. I'm getting excited, salivating at the mouth here. But Brian Dawkins, I just feel throughout somebody that's my age, who's around 26 years old, even though he didn't bring home the championship, when you think about, like, what's the jersey you see the most? Who's the person that you think of when you see the Eagles logo? It's Brian Dawkins for anyone my age. You see the videos of him. He still comes around. He still does a lot. So for me, I really had to say Weapon X had to be up there. I thought about Reggie White as well. Nick Foles is another great example. Jalen Hurts, I really wanted to put. I did
too. I was fighting myself so bad. I was like, do I just put Jalen on there? Just throw Jalen on there? I was like, literally
I wouldn't have been mad at it, I'll say, because the Eagles QB position, like, he's played it at a high level. He's won a championship, so I wouldn't have been upset at that. But I had to put the big man, Jason Kelce, on there for the other birdie. I mean, same thing. When you think of the Eagles logo, he's the second guy since 2000 that's immediately to your mind. Brandon Graham's a great honorable mention. Same thing with the Jalen Hurts. I really wanted to put him up there, and we'll get to that in a second. Some interchangeables. But I got Brian Dawkins. Mike Schmidt stays consistent throughout both generations. Jason Kelce. And last but not least, I got Allen Iverson on the end for the Sixers. I know Allen didn't have a championship, but Allen had that swagger, that Philly swag. Like, when he came out in 2003 and he had the step over and he just had that whole run with the Sixers and lost ultimately in the finals to the Lakers, he still had that Philly, I don't know, just he embodied what it meant to be a Philadelphian. And it's funny because he was actually a Cowboys fan, I believe, when he came here, and he had to play for the city, and he balled. I just think he really set the example for young Sixers fans. And when you think of that Sixers logo, same thing. He's immediately the guy you think of. But Frank, I mean, what are your thoughts on my list?
So this is where I get a little frustrated about like with the Kelce thing, Jason Kelce thing. I love Jason Kelce takes on Philadelphia, and this isn't going against him. But I want to sort of argue this. We didn't even talk about this person, and it sort of irks me that I didn't really put him on there, and then I was really thinking about it. Why don't we ever talk about Lane Johnson?
Because he's an offensive lineman, same thing as Jason Kelce, and he's not as outspoken as Jason Kelce and doesn't dance around and have a brother, Travis.
Yeah, that's what like sort of like grinds my gears. And then another person just, not that I love to death, and he loves Philadelphia. He still talks about Philly all the time on his podcast, is Chris Long. Chris Long definitely carried this team. Carries like Philly on his chest. I mean, through that whole parade process, and still talks about Philadelphia and still talks about, how good our team was this year. I really like listening to Chris a lot about that stuff. And he just understands the locker room. You could tell, like, he's an old soul football player, and he goes, man, that locker room's just grooving. They're just after one thing only. They're not talking about, MVPs. They're not talking about this. They're talking about championships. And when I'm listening to him, I was like, maybe I would put him on there. Another person I would maybe argue Dalton for, and I know this is going to be a really hard topic for everybody, is Joel Embiid. And I know people are going to make fun of me for this. But yeah.
Why?
I really let's delete the past 2 or 3 years. Let's delete that. Okay. Would he be on your list because he was carrying a lot of the burden of the process through the whole Ben Simmons issue, through top management fumbling the Butler situation, and he kept positive attitude, this and this and this, kept trying to like get there, and they just kept picking the wrong pieces over and over and over. That this guy was definitely taking on a lot of the brute force on this, and now we're seeing the problem with this is now he carried too much of the load. Now this guy is sort of being a prima donna. I'm not going to lie. I'm not arguing that at all. But 2 years ago, we would be like, yeah, Joel Embiid is that guy. He's an MVP quality guy. He has MVP, things underneath his belt. He is that guy. But there's the other issue, playoffs, not showing up on playoffs, this and that. But at the same time, what pieces did he have? Now, I'm not saying that Allen Iverson didn't have any pieces. We had Eric Snow as his other two. We did have Mutombo. Okay, he was great, amazing. But you had Eric Snow, and I don't even know the other forwards. So it's just, yeah. I love Allen Iverson, and don't get me wrong, I'm just being, devil advocate here. But I'm saying if this was 2 years ago, we might have Embiid actually on that Mount Rushmore.
I think if Embiid would have changed the way he acted, and if also injury wouldn't have happened, you can't say that in a way and also not bring the injury into the picture, because that's unfair too. I get that point of it. He's not asking to get injured or going out there trying to get hurt. But I also think that there's a lot of things that he's responsible for. Like, he could have changed his attitude. He could have changed the way that he acted to things. The one comment that he made this year, I don't know if you remember it, it really kind of irked me when Embiid said that the Eagles championship should suffice for the city of Philadelphia and the people. It's like, who are you to tell us that should suffice? It doesn't work like that. And
it
also,
doesn't work like that.
We're
tired of the excuses. I think everybody in Philadelphia are tired of the Sixers excuses, and then of course them going, well, trust the process. Well, we've been trusting the process for like more than 12 years, 13 years, and the process is dead. Like, we could all be honest. It died with Ben Simmons getting traded off to Brooklyn. I don't care what anybody says. Like, oh, Harden came. Well, yeah, but like at the same time, the process was to get low draft picks and get loaded up, then that we could be a dynasty, and that didn't happen. And I'm tired of the hardcore love fans of the Sixers. Like, oh, maybe next year. It's like I don't see this happening. I don't see this happening in the next couple of years. You're in the same level as the Philadelphia Flyers, and you guys keep on saying how good you're going to be next year, and then you get a mediocre star coming in. And I'm not saying that Paul George is mediocre, but I am saying him getting hurt and all this situation. The guy's at the end of his career when we're always talking about getting him young. And we don't get anything young. We just go after we got Paul George. It's like, okay, but is he going to survive the season? And never survives the season. So that's the issue that I have with the Sixers right now. I really do like Paul George. I like the pickup, but maybe as a fifth man. That's how I look at it. What about you, Dalt?
I just think that the Sixers are a dumpster fire. They're like the Browns of the NBA. There's just what I've learned in sports throughout my 26 years of life, and this realization has sunk into me right now, like this past month, is there's just certain franchises that just will inevitably fuck up. That's the simplest way I can put it. The Giants, the Browns, the Jets. The Giants, actually, I have to take that back. They somehow find a way to get 2 Super Bowls throughout my lifetime. But inevitably, more times than over, they're going to find a way to mess it up. There's just organizations with bad ownership that, you kind of
and then put it on national TV that you don't need a running back that is probably your best player. That's
shout out to the Giants. But my biggest thing is Josh Harris. I feel like that guy, he really has this weird love triangle, and I've said this on a couple other shows, between the NFC East, where he's an owner of the New Jersey Devils, which he's got the Giants fan base, New York. He's an owner of the Sixers. He's got Philly. And then he's also an owner of the Washington Commanders. So he's really an NFC East person's nightmare. He's unloyal. And I just feel like the Sixers, they should just restart at this point because they've wasted Embiid's career. They owe him an apology. But at the same time, like, him reacting the way that he is just hurting his own brand on the way out. That makes sense.
Like I hate to say it like this, but he's not an all-pro. A lot of like these professional athletes, they say the right thing at all times, blah blah blah. He knows the backlash and everything, like what he says. But now I feel like I think he needs a new start somewhere else. And I hate to say it like that, but I just really think that maybe some new fresh air would actually help him out. And I know I'm going to get blasted in the comments for that. But I really do think he needs a fresh air, and maybe we get a couple picks out of him and then see what we can do.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on the fresh start thing. You're right. He did have a chance to be on either this list or this list.
Yeah.
Frank's list or Dalt's list. He had a chance to be on to represent the Sixers. And he kind of missed out on the opportunity, missed out on it. That was his fault. I think his personality got look, I'll put it to you this way. I understand the frustration and why he's so upset and why he acts the way he does. But you also can't act that way when you get paid millions of dollars. Like, you got to still, he's just hurting his own brand by like with Sixers fans in the future, autographs, they're going to have something to say. Just be the most positive you can be and let the organization speak for itself, because boy, oh boy, it's going to speak for itself. And it's also out of his control. That's why it annoys me, because like I get his frustration, but at the same time, he just needs to show up, ball out, and keep it at that. Like, he doesn't got to really do anything else.
Yeah.
He can make friends.
I feel like we definitely ran into a new world of sports too, that I think also these athletes, like, they're nonstop in front of the camera. I feel like once they left the stadium in like the late 90s, early 2000s, once they left the stadium, they were home. There was not as many cameras on them, so no one could really catch it. Or they didn't have Twitter that they could really, like, if they're pissed off and in a really pissed off mood, that they can't reach millions in like 2 seconds. I think it's just a different environment that they're in now, that a lot of things actually like snowball into something. It's like, no, I didn't mean it that way. You see it a lot of times with a lot of athletes, but I mean, if I would everybody says, oh, Will, if I was an athlete, well, at the same time, I'm like, these guys definitely learn from other guys' mistakes. And I feel like it's the ongoing thing with Embiid. He keeps going and just does that like Twitter thing. He goes, all right, I'm not going to tweet as much. Then tweets like 7 things. He's like, oh my God, like, why did he tweet that? Or something like that. And I feel like a lot of times, or like, hey, why did he say that in front of a camera that he shouldn't have been saying? Like, why are you allowing that? Why, like, it's just like, it's always fun. That's the best.
JoJo, man. JoJo.
I love him. I still love him. I mean, I will still ride for him in a way, because we had him from the beginning when he came out. He got that really bad injury, and we're like, you know what? We'll ride and die with you. And I think what really screwed him over wasn't him. It was actually upper management of the 76ers.
Yeah, 100% agree. But let us know in the comments who is on your guys' Philly Sports Mount Rushmore, and do you agree or disagree with me and Frank's? Go ahead. One more time. Read me off yours. Go ahead. Let's hear it. Wait. Let me get you on the right camera angle. There you go.
Yeah, so I got Nick Foles, Schmitty, and Bobby Clark, and of course, Dr. J.
That's a good list.
That man is cemented in my Rushmore. Is Dr. J. Is just cemented hands down.
Hey, I like it. And then on mine, real quick, I got Dawkins, Schmidt, Kelsey, and Iverson. Someone born in 1998 compared to someone born in 1988, you said?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
There you go. Well, moving on now to our next topic. We're going to actually take it to the streets first. Let's go see what our people had to say.
Dutch, we all know the greatest sequel of all time. Anyway, it's Godfather Part II. Why? It's Italian.
My pick for the best movie sequel is Spider-Man 2. Has the best action scenes, best villain, and let's not forget that train scene of him trying to stop the train. That shit was fire.
Those are really good lists. Ballpark and Shardy, thank you guys both for sending those in. Frank, I'll let you take it first. What's the best movie sequel of all time?
I mean, everybody always talks about this movie and completely forgets that there was a movie before this, but I'm going to say The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is the best Batman movie ever. I don't care what anybody says. It's the best villain in the movie. It's the best, I think, truthfully, Batman in this movie world. And then, I mean, just hands down, just the storyline, how dark it gets, how many like different like situations there are, and a lot of Easter eggs that are in it too that are just amazing. I think it really turned DC into a juggernaut at that time. Once they came out with The Dark Knight, I think superhero movies were like the mainstream thing after that. Like, oh, we could get this movie and make it sort of adults and teens and really push it towards there. And like, I mean, it killed it in the box office. I think that Heath Ledger's like, rest in peace, but one of his best acting I have ever seen. He won an Oscar from it. I mean, it's one of the best movies. I still watch it to this day if it's on TV. I'll stop whatever I'm doing and just start watching that.
That's a fantastic answer.
I know, and everybody forgets that there was a movie before that, like Batman Begins, and everybody's like, "Dude, The Dark Knight is so much better."
I remember, everybody remembers where they were the first time they saw that movie. When they first saw that Batmobile in the movie, you know what I'm talking about? That thing that came out, the Heath Ledger scenes. Yeah, I mean,
the ballroom when Heath Ledger walks in and then what's her name sees him for the first time, and it's just like, oh my God. Like, it's an amazing scene.
Yeah, didn't they film a scene at Heinz Field at the time, at the Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium?
Yeah, that was the movie after The Dark Knight.
That was with Bane, right?
Yes, that was with Bane.
Yep. Yeah, that was a really good trilogy right there.
That was probably their best DC, I think. Possibly that's their best trilogy, I think, personally.
I like it. I had Dark Knight on my list too.
Yep.
I had Avengers Infinity War. I'll go with the less depressive superhero franchise. I know Frank's coming out saying DC. I'll go with Marvel. Infinity War was a really good one. So was 22 Jump Street, though. I had 22 Jump Street on my list. I just feel like anytime you match up Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, you're going to have a good movie. Right. And that one didn't disappoint. There was a lot of speculation, too. I remember leading up to it, people being like, oh, this movie's not going to be good. Like, people wanted to hate it. You ever want to hate something, guys, like going into it? Like, you're just like, oh, okay, my mind's already made up that society says the sequels suck, so this sequel is going to suck. Like, that's kind of how it was going on social media, where everyone was convinced already that this movie was going to suck. And 22 Jump Street, I will say, delivered. And then another one that I had also, a rare dark horse for me. I don't know if you agree or disagree with this one. I actually had, what is it? Grown Ups 2. I don't know why, but Adam Sandler, just dumb movies like that. And that cast was elite.
Yeah, I have one that really blows your mind on this one, but it's definitely a kid's show, but it's still like, you know, it's a little tearjerker, but Toy Story 2. Yeah, I love. And then my hopeful of a great sequel is Happy Gilmore 2.
Oh, Happy Gilmore 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's my hopeful. That's the one that I'm like, this has got to be good. This has got to be good. Adam Sandler's got to nail this one. Like, it's got to be good. And so far, what I'm seeing is it looks good. The original girlfriend from the original, who is also in Modern Family, is in this one. So there's a lot of people that are from the original that are coming back on. So I'm pretty pumped about that. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential too. Like, I know, Shard, I like the Spider-Man answer a lot with Tobey Maguire. I thought that trilogy was really good there. I know a lot of people were upset at the way that Spider-Man 3 went, and there was like a lot of memes with that. But I'll say that I like Spider-Man 2 a lot as an answer. I thought that was good. Dark Knight,
Yeah.
great answer. 22 Jump Street, I had on. So mine were Dark Knight, 22 Jump Street, Avengers Infinity War, and Grown Ups 2 were the ones I had on my list. I know KJ McCoy was supposed to join us. I don't know if he's joining up or not to share his, but
I know I like Tommy's too. Godfather Part 2 was pretty good. That was really good. I wouldn't say it's as good as the first, but I just feel like Dark Knight just beats them all. I mean, everybody's like, no, Dark Knight came out first. It's like, no, there was Batman Begins and then The Dark Knight. And everybody forgets about Batman Begins because they think of The Dark Knight and then Bane. And then they're like, well, wasn't it a trilogy? Yeah, it was the one before The Dark Knight. I know a lot of people forgot about it. So I was like, yeah, there's no competing with that. But
well, moving on now to our next topic, which is a really interesting one. This has been a debate in the 302 Birds group chat for quite a bit now, and that is, where will Aaron Rodgers end up? Could we see him end up with the Steelers or with the Vikings? What do you think, Frank?
he has to go to the Steelers. He has to go. Like, that's the only place that I think fits him well. I think that's the only. He has two really great wide receivers. I mean, he has Justin Jefferson, but is that really it with Justin Jefferson? You have DK and Pickens. You have one young wide receiver, and then you have DK on the other side. I mean, that will really help you out. Now, it's about where they draft. Now, the Steelers might have a shot to get an okay offensive line, and I'm not sure what they did in free agency for their offensive line needs, but I feel like if you pick up Aaron Rodgers, you have a chance to go deeper in the playoffs at least. I feel like this is his last year. It's definitely prove it. I feel like Aaron Rodgers is a little overrated in my mind. He only has one Super Bowl appearance. I just don't. I don't think it's going to get any of these teams over the hump, but I think he's a great fill-in for right now, and maybe get a good quarterback or something like that for the Vikings. Well, the Vikings have McCarthy, so that's a goner. Why would you put Aaron Rodgers there and then screw up the younger quarterback and give a bad name? Who do you have at backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Like, they need to answer that. Who do you have as quarterback right now? You legit have nobody. You let two of them go away. So you got to grab him. And unless you want to throw away season, there's no way that you don't grab him.
It's funny you say that, because that's how I feel about the Vikings, right? They were a team that you look at them. Sam Darnold comes into the picture. Everybody counted that guy out. He comes into the fold. They go out and get 14 wins. We all knew that they were going to get smoked at some point in the playoffs. If they bring in Aaron Rodgers, though, I feel like it makes it a different scenario for them. Aaron Rodgers and Justin Jefferson in the same sentence just sounds absolutely insane.
But
The
they say
Jets,
that about
I know we
Devontae
said the
Adams,
same
too.
thing with Garrett Wilson and that whole offense and Devontae Adams when he was there. But like I said earlier, the Jets are just dysfunctional. But the thing I wanted to show real quick, Frank, is he's going to follow in his guys' footsteps.
I was just going to
He
say that, too. I
loves
was like,
Brett
this is hysterical.
He loves to follow in Brett Favre's footsteps. Brett Favre went from the Packers to the Jets to the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers is going to go from the Packers to the Jets to the Vikings. I have receipts to prove it over time. Here they are. I've had them up for a while, and I've called this for years. You can ask Joey Havens, same thing. I've been saying this for years, that he will end up on the Vikings after the Jets, because he has this weird, like, father-son thing going on with Brett Favre. I don't really know even how to describe it, where, like, they have like this hate towards each other because Rodgers inevitably took his job, but also like a mutual respect because they're both like phenomenal Packers quarterbacks and they know how hard that is to do. But I could really see Aaron Rodgers going to the Vikings, reviving his career just like Brett Favre did. Didn't really work out with the Jets. It'll work out with the Vikes.
I'm just looking at it as a team. Like, if I was the owner, if I was the Roonies right now, I'd be like, who do I have in quarterback right now? And you have no one for the Steelers. I mean, when did the Vikings draft McCarthy? What first round or second round? Am I right or wrong there? I mean, you have a rookie quarterback that's supposed to be ready this year. He's supposed to be ready this year. So, well, rookie, but this is his sophomore year in the league. You have to let the kid play. You can't have Aaron Rodgers breathing down your neck. I feel like the best move for Aaron Rodgers would be the Vikings, but will the Vikings pay him to play for them? I don't think it's the best situation for the Vikings to do that. I do think it's the best situation for the Steelers as of right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that the family, it's funny. I feel like these two teams should be fighting over a QB. And I feel like you said, like the Roonies know that they need a QB. Aaron Rodgers is a respected veteran. He kind of reminds me like play style at this point in his age could be similar, I think, comparable to Roethlisberger, where he's kind of just going to be in the pocket. He's going to be able to sit back there and kind of, command his offense. But I just feel like the Vikings, it's almost destiny. I don't know why.
I don't think we're going to know until after the draft. I really don't think we're going to know until after the draft. I think also Aaron's seeing where, everything falls to. That's what I really think so. I just don't know what's taken so long for both of these teams to really press the panic button. I do give the credit to the Vikings that they're not pressing the panic button yet because they still have this kid that they just drafted the first or second round. So I just don't understand what the Steelers are doing. I mean, I would try to sign him right now and go, hey, who do you want me to go after in the draft? Like, what do you think is a good fit for you? Do you want an O-lineman? Do you want, what do you want from us drafting? That would be like my number one question to Aaron Rodgers to see what he thinks, what he would want. So you never know. I don't know the answer. That's why I don't get paid that money for, working for these teams. But I honestly think the Steelers is the best fit.
Well, I brought in somebody to back you up. I brought in an expert, just like Pawn Stars, Frank. But no, in all seriousness, here's my boy, Joey Havens, who I already know. Joey, tell us, why do you think he wants to go to Pittsburgh?
So he's got a perfect fit in Pittsburgh. The only thing they need in Pittsburgh, like if they get Aaron Rodgers, is going to be a running back. Their defense is solid. They've got T.J. Watt. They've got Minkah Fitzpatrick. Their defense is solid. They've got DK Metcalf, George Pickens. Like those are two scary receivers that you don't want to line up against. So you get a good quarterback that can throw him the ball in there. Aaron Rodgers has got something left in the tank. I think he could take this team all the way to the Super Bowl, and the Steelers are dumb if they don't go pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson took them to the playoffs, and Russell Wilson's throwing at ankles. I mean, Sam Darnold, he played amazing. I think he did really well for that position, and I think he actually fit the scheme really well. Russell Wilson, you got to remember, what did he do in Denver? Like, he didn't do anything, but a rookie almost got them to the playoffs. So what did Russell Wilson do with the Steelers? They have a good, solid team. They just didn't have a quarterback. And then they couldn't even trust their backup quarterback that they got rid of him. What are the Steelers doing right now? Like, are they waiting for the draft? That's what I think they're doing. But at the same time, it's like, wouldn't you want your number one guy in the room when you're drafting so you can go, hey, what do you want? What would you need? What but like trying to feel them out and going, hey, like, do you need a running back? We got you a running back. What kind of running back? Receiving, running, a tank. Like, you don't know what this guy wants either. And I just don't know what the Roonies are doing right now. And I would be pulling my hair out if I was a Steelers fan. And I know a lot of my friends who are Steelers fans are pulling their hair out right now.
I feel like an answer is going to come this week on Rodgers. I feel like it's gotta almost, like with what you just said, Frank. Like, a team is going to want his opinion on the draft and scouting and just overall draft process. You would think, like, he's going to be a starter wherever he goes to start the season next year. He's that talented. He's not going to go somewhere and be a backup, right? Is there any shot you guys think he's a backup anywhere? I don't.
No. He's too much of a liability to be a backup.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. If you're pulling the trigger, I feel like the Steelers are perfect because they're very, hey, like, we keep business inside here. We don't talk outside. I think that's the biggest problem with him being a Steeler is him joining the Pat McAfee show every Wednesday. I think there's a lot of issues with that. But as a team, you need this. And maybe this might put you guys back on the map again, being, the Steelers again. I mean, it's a new world. I mean, I know the Steelers love keeping it hush-hush at all times. I still can't believe that they allowed them on Hard Knocks. I know the Roonies are really old school with this kind of stuff and go, hey, everything stays inside the building. And they were on Hard Knocks, the NFC, the AFC North. And that's what I think the issue is him being on Pat McAfee and, doing a lot of documentaries. And they're like, oh, I don't want to rustle with our fan base. And I know the Roonies are a little weirded about that. But at the same time, it's like, guys, you got to pull the trigger at something. Like, you got to find something out there. If you don't get Rodgers, you got to start looking at the UFL. And that's an issue.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. And some of those guys, yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ain't pretty. I like what Shardy said, too, in the comments.
Ooh.
He did say Carson Wentz could be an interesting person for the Steelers to bring into that locker room. That would be interesting, too. I just feel like I don't know. I think he could stay with the Chiefs, believe it or not. I think he actually kind of liked that scenario where he's a backup to Patrick Mahomes. He kind of knows, like, okay, this is the best QB in the league. It's okay to be a backup to the best QB in the league. I'm the second best. That's probably what goes through that guy's head. Who knows? So.
I don't know. I think he would be a good fit, but then is he a free agent this year, Carson Wentz?
I mean, he might be, he might not be. I think he did sign a 1-year deal with the Chiefs, so I think he should still find a team. But that's the thing. He'll probably find a team once September, October rolls around.
I don't think. I mean, if you have to dig deep in the barrel for that and get Carson Wentz, that's just going to upset the whole fan base and put a bad.
I thought 2 years ago, maybe, when the Steelers, when the Commanders brought him in, like when he was on that stint after the Colts, and we still didn't know what he was. At this point, I don't know, maybe not, but we'll see. But hey, Frank,
when you could say that you can have Aaron Rodgers compared to Carson Wentz, who would you rather have in the backfield? And if you have a chance to get it, and if you don't get it, and he goes to Minnesota or any other team, that fan base is going to be pissed off and already call this season a flush. And I think that's really bad for the Steeler Nation.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully not, just because I know the state of PA will riot. But Frank, we appreciate you for joining us, brother. Please let the people know where they can give you a follow.
Totally frankable. Please give me a follow. I'll see you guys on the flip side.
We'll see you on here soon. Thank you for joining us, brother.
See you guys. I'll talk to you.
Have a good night. So, Joey, I wanted to see if you're rocking that Philly shirt, if you can stay with me for one more second real quick.
Okay.
The Vikings are back, my man, and I got a quick question for you. Who do you think has more pressure this season, Bryce Harper or Phillies management?
Probably the Phillies management, just because Bryce Harper still has enough contract to where, like, okay, this year you don't win it all, but you get close. Okay, there's next year. And it kind of sucks to say it like that, but there's always next year. But with the management, you've got Dombrowski, you've got Rob Thompson, these guys that, like, you've had the positions you've had now for a couple years, and we've regressed. So you've got to do something to, like, it's got to be something big, something that makes us go, okay, this is improving our team. This is going to give our team a better shot than we've had the past 3-4 seasons now. And so far we haven't seen that. I know I think every post game show, or really I think it was yesterday's post game show, they were already talking about what are we gonna do at the deadline. And I kind of feel the same way. Like, what are we gonna do to improve our team? Because it still feels like the same group of guys. Add Max Kepler, that's the same, like, plug and place, like, from last year. So it's not any much different. Already Trey Turner, first 2 games, or second 2 games, my fault. Not playing, so that's kind of, I know he's, like, hurt or something. I don't even know, but
Yeah, he's got like the back
like,
stuff going
yeah,
on.
already.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I mean, I guess get it out early, but still, like, come on, couldn't play more than 1 game, and we're already injured. It's not a good sign.
Yeah, they're disappointing. Like, I don't want to say I'm not excited to go see the Phillies tomorrow because I took off of work. I'm gonna see my family members who I haven't seen in a while. It's opening day. I'm really excited to go see the Phillies tomorrow, but I'm nervous about seeing the actual game part, if that makes sense. Like, I'm nervous about seeing this team go 5 innings scoreless and thinking that that's a normal thing, that that's going to be okay. Shardy said it on the one post game show. I'd like to get that part of the season out of the way early. I would like to, say, okay, if we're going to have these like mess ups, let's get them out early. Because once we get to August, once we get to September, this team needs to be clicking. And I do think that they have the capableness. They won the overall series. Stott had a great day yesterday. He had the home run. But you just got to figure out what's going on with somebody like Trey Turner, because they've kicked around in the past talking about and I know I may get toasted for this in the comments, but WIP's talked about it. I thought about it as well. Potentially converting Stott from second base to a shortstop eventually if Trey Turner gets that bad enough, and then you could bring in someone else. So we'll see if they would ever do that. Obviously, I think that that's a long way down the road next season. But they got to figure out what the hell's going on with Trey Turner, because the fact that he's already going through this injury and he's already figuring this out, that's why I agree with your answer. I would say management 100% has a lot of pressure on them this year because they understand that they're paying. Bryce Harper doesn't have that much pressure. Like, he performs when he needs to. Bryce Harper is going to be Bryce Harper. Ball go boom, right? We know that. With Bryce, I think where he needs that help and the less pressure's on him is that supporting cast. Like Moose is saying in the comments, Bohm is a problem. Bohm needs to get his shit together. Jake needs to be better. Trey, the $300 million man, needs to learn how to, play baseball and be consistent. So there's a lot of things that they need to figure out.
Yeah. Alec Bohm's got to go. Like, I know everybody's like a fan favorite and all that, but Alec Bohm has got to go. After today, you got the bases loaded. You got 1 out, and first one he throws it in the dirt. Second one you swing right at it, ground ball, end of the inning. You're down. I think it was 5-0 at that point. So, like, all you got Bryce Harper behind you. All you got to do is get on base, and first opportunity to hit something, you get everybody out. It's like, come on, dude. You got to be a little more patient, I guess, when you're a bat. And Bohm has just not shown that. And you guys were talking about it earlier. It's just immaturity and everything. He's somebody that's got to go, I think, for this team to really get over the hump. He's just not somebody that's got the championship DNA built inside of him. Like if Alec Boehm was on the Eagles, like if somebody like that was on the Eagles, or really if like Hassan Reddick, right, and Alec Boehm, I feel like that's the same type of player. It's just even though Hassan Reddick was good, but Alec Boehm had his flashes, but now it's just not good. And everybody else, they definitely, you can see even like guys like Marsh, who people were kind of coming down on. Like Marsh hit a home run, Marsh hit a RBI, a couple RBIs already too, and even Stott, you just said Stott's doing well. Like players like that, they're doing good. Players that need to do good, and then somebody like Bone that we're all on the hot, we're putting him on the hot seat as fans, and he's just not doing anything. And it's like, boom, dude, either step up or shut up and go.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, he's got to step up. He needs to be that guy for the Philadelphia Phillies that can be Bryce Harper's right-hand man, because right now it's not Trey Turner. Trey Turner doesn't want to show up and be that $300 million. Well, I shouldn't say that. Trey Turner wants to. He definitely wants to. But Trey Turner, unfortunately, isn't able to be that player that we know he can be. And in the meantime, somebody like Bohm has got to step up. Luckily, I will say the Phillies have, like you said, Marsh, who started out 0-4. He did not start the season out well, and then he ends up going 3 for 9. Out of his last 5 at-bats, he goes for 3 hits. So the dude's playing more consistent. You got Stott, who knocked out a home run yesterday. So it's like, okay, everybody's gone from the daycare to the high school now. Now it's your turn, Bohm, and Bohm's still throwing temper tantrums. I get the frustration. I do. Love the guy to death. There's nobody, I want to be clear about this too. I think if you talk about the most capable player in the daycare, the best build, the most potential, you could argue, I would say it's either Stott or Bohm, but I think a lot of people would argue Alec Bohm is the one that should go the furthest, that has the most potential. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely would agree because in my opinion, honestly, like a couple years ago, I was kind of on the same like kind of train. I know Bone plays third base instead of like shortstop, but this was supposed to be like, in my opinion, the next like Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins type kind of deal connection right here with those two. And I thought they were going to be obviously like the cornerstone, the pillars of this infield. And Stott, I like him. He's pretty good, and I think he's gonna stay. But Bohm, it's like, dude, you have this perfect opportunity, and we love you as fans. We really do, because even at the beginning of last year, you were such a good player, but you just let your bad attitude affect you and get in your way and mess you up, and then you just continue to stay in your own way. And it's, if you're not gonna fix it, then take it somewhere else.
Yeah. Like you gotta fix that mindset and be better, because the Philadelphia Phillies fans deserve better. They were talking about it on WIP. I talked about it on a bunch of shows, and I talked about it now. You look at the Eagles and the Phillies, and that's really all Philly fans got right now. The Sixers
Mhm.
ain't doing shit. The Flyers ain't doing shit.
Mm-mm.
And then, unfortunately, for the past 3 years, I believe, you haven't really had a Philly school represent in March Madness. So until we start to see some kind of something better, the Phillies really have a lot of pressure. The Eagles just got it done. They got another Super Bowl trophy. They're good for at least another 10 years, I would say, because they won 2 in 7 years. They get the pass. They're good. And they'll probably end up winning more. But now the Phillies are due. It's been 17-ish years, I want to say 16, 17, 18 years since the Phillies won their last championship. They are due. But Joey, I want to thank you for coming on here for the Phillies segment, my man. Please let the
Yes,
people
sir.
know where they can give you a follow.
Follow me on Instagram at 302 Birds Joey. Uh, coming up with a lot of draft coverage shortly.
Oh, I will be tuned into that. Stay tuned with Joey to see who our Philadelphia Eagles bring home next. Thank you for being on here, Joe.
Have a good night.
You
Thank
too.
you.
See you, man. So we got Joey on here talking Phillies, Frank on here talking about best movie sequels, and Philly Sports Mount Rushmore. And next up, we got Dutchy alone to talk about what is the best boardwalk snack. I shit you not, right here. This is my Wheel of Wonder. On my Wheel of Wonder, whatever this ends up on will be my first boardwalk snack of the year. Plot twist. Oh, wait, sorry. Plot twist. Every single one of them is Chickies and Pete's. So whatever it ends up on, I'm going to end up getting Chickies and Pete's. Anyway, let me know in the comments what's your guys' best boardwalk snack at either the Delaware beaches, at the Jersey beaches, and why. Mine, Chickies and Pete's crab fries. I feel like when you can get them at the shore, they just kind of hit harder. Old Bay is like something that's best enjoyed along water, I feel. I don't know if that's a weird thing to say, but the Old Bay, the beer cheese, when you're walking along the boardwalk, you get that nice little breeze. You got a Pepsi along with it, a fountain Pepsi, not a bottle Pepsi. You have a fountain Pepsi. Life is good. I mean, the only thing that could make that moment go wrong is getting attacked by a pack of seagulls. That shit sucks, my friends. You ever been there or see a little kid start throwing the bait? That's the worst. But my best boardwalk snack definitely has to be Chickies and Pete's crab fries. I would say honorable mention to Manco and Manco Pizza. I like their pizza a lot. I might get some of that actually at the ballpark tomorrow now that I'm thinking of it. And I also would have to give an honorable mention to in Ocean City, New Jersey, there's a pretty good pierogi place inside the food court along with a really good cheesesteak place. Both of them are really good boardwalk snacks. Three Brothers Pizza is another good spot down in Ocean City, New Jersey. And then I would also say Carousel Ice Cream off of 8th Street. Now, this is just me spitballing places in Ocean City, New Jersey, because I feel like, in my opinion, I grew up going to the Ocean City Boardwalk. I think it's the biggest. It's the best compared to Wildwood. It's safer, in my opinion. And I just feel like Ocean City is the best boardwalk. So that's why a lot of these are Ocean City snacks. But let me know in the comments what you guys think is the best. We also got some people saying the fudge. Moose checking in from the Delaware beaches saying Thrasher fries. They're really good. I've had them before. Put some vinegar on them. Grotto's pizza at the beach tastes better. I definitely agree with that. Like, there's something about crunchy pizza. And I would say just fried food in general along the beach that makes it taste better. You're out on the beach all day. You're getting tan. Then you walk along the boardwalk. You can go get a nice crunchy pizza, some crab fries. Life is good, man. Like I'm saying, Dippin' Dots are a really underrated one, too. That's one I can't believe I forgot. Max in Wildwood's a good one. Sam's Pizza in Wildwood is another good one. So there's a lot of spots down at the beach where you can get a good boardwalk snack. But let me know in the comments what you guys think is the best and why. I would just say Chickies and Pete's is definitely my favorite. I think it's usually a solid price. You know what you're getting, and it fills you up really good. So for me, got to say go with the crab fries. Nicola Pizza, also Shardy saying in Rehoboth is a good one. I've had that spot, I think, once with my boy BG. Shout out to BG if you're watching. That was a good one. But we're moving on now to the last topic of the night, which is if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why? This is a really interesting one. I thought a lot about this because there's a lot of good superpowers. You could say laser vision. You could say teleportation. You could say mind reading. You could say super strength, super speed. I think what I've determined is that taking a superpower that gives you a physical strength or a physical ability that's not mental, meaning is actually kind of a disadvantage. If you can take a mental superpower, and I mean use that superpower to where it's not obvious, like going invisible, for example, and you can blend in and use that superpower in life to where they can't find out, you're almost going to be able to cheat the system. It's like a PED. It's like a performance enhancing drug. So I would say I think mind reading would be a really good one because you could sit across the table and know what someone's thinking and they don't even know it. I would say also if you've seen the Avengers, there's that one person that can change your mind. I think it's not Black Widow. I'm drawing a blank on her name. She's with Vision. But anyway, point is, that would be an interesting one too. I don't know if I'm that sick of a person that I could do that to somebody, but hey, to each their own, right? To each their own. But if you guys could have one superpower in the comments, let me know what it would be and why. I would have to say mine would probably be mind reading, just because I think for negotiation purposes, that would be insane. You can do a lot of good things with that. So stay tuned. But if you guys enjoyed this episode tonight, let me know in the comments. I really appreciate doing this show. It's a lot of fun for me, guys, to kind of just decompress after doing a week of graphics, stuff like that. Shout out to Joey. Shout out to Ashley for helping me out all week with graphics, stuff like that. So it's not as much on me, but I can kind of just help out and kind of be in different departments with people, because as a brand, I'm really proud where 302 Birds is going. And I think we're headed to a good place. So I want to thank them for their help. I want to thank Shardy for his help with the Phillies postgame show, along with Brendan and Gavin jumping in too when he needs to be. I mean, everybody around here right now, we're doing a lot of good things. We got a lot of good shows going on. There's a lot of things that I haven't even named yet that you guys already know. Sixers postgame show is another great one. But to everyone watching, I sincerely appreciate you guys. Thank you for tuning in. This is going to be something I'm doing every Sunday night. Appreciate your input with Dalton Holland throughout the summer. And once again, last but not least, my name's Dalton Holland, and I appreciate your input.
Let's go, Phillies! Woo!
KJ and I out here.
You are now listening to the Appreciate Your Input podcast with